busloads of migrants were dropped off in sub-zero temperatures at the Washington, D.C. home of Vice President Kamala Harris. A video showed migrants getting off and onto buses outside of a naval observatory, the Vice President's official residence, while many were lightly dressed for temperatures as low as -8 degrees Celsius. A volunteer with the Migrant Solidarity Mutual Aid Network says the migrants who are from Ecuador, Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Colombia and Peru were supposed to go to New York but were diverted due to bad weather. It was not clear who was responsible for sending the buses to Harris's residence, but migrants were previously dispatched there by Texas Governor Greg Abbott in September. Several Republican governors have been sending migrants to northern states to protest a rise in border crossings. And for more on these stories, our U.S. correspondent Eric Ham joins me now from Washington. Eric, thank you so much for being here. And of course, we've just heard the New York governor, Katie Hochul, there really describing the work being done by the rescue workers as a war against Mother Nature. Those are her words. Eric, what is the latest out of the U.S.?
Well, she's right. In fact, what we saw over the last 96 hours were massive storms across the country, in fact, raging from places as far as the West Coast in Seattle, Washington, all the way to the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast corridor. And we have seen temperatures fall below freezing. Some places temperatures were in the -50-degree range. In places like Buffalo, where you continue to show images there, we have seen a massive snowfalls to the tune of more than 4 and 5 feet of snow. People have been trapped in their vehicles. People have been without power. In fact, more than 2 million people across the country have been without power. But now we are beginning to come out of this deep freeze. Temperatures are beginning to climb back up. But still, what we're now seeing is the wreckage and the damage that has been caused as a result of the storm. Many people are now being able to get their power restored as well. So where we saw a high of nearly 2 million people without power, that number has fallen down to around 150,000 people across the country without power. Now, temperatures are rising, but they're still pretty frigid all across the country right now. And so what we're seeing is people are still trying to deal with the devastation and the fallout. And this is something that has impacted and affected the entire nation, including, of course, air travel, where we have seen thousands of flights canceled across the country. Unfortunately, a lot of people unable to make it home for Christmas. But still, what we are now seeing is people are now beginning to come out of this. So this week is expected to be a warm up where we have seen temperatures, again, in some places as low as -50 degrees. By the end of the week, we're expected to be somewhere around 60 degrees. So a nearly 110-degree temperature shift is what we're going to see in a matter of days in the United States.
Well, Eric, we do know that millions were plunged into darkness when they actually lost power over the Christmas weekend. But a lot of work's being done to restore electricity and its supplies. What are we hearing with regards to those who are still in darkness?
Yeah, well, we're seeing the power is actually being restored, and it's being restored very quickly. Again, we have seen people who have lost power over the last 96 hours. But again, that number has come way, way down. Like I said, we saw nearly 2 million people who have been without power. But now it's down to around 150,000 people. Now, that's still no consolation for those who are without power, of course. And then if you go to a place like Jackson, Mississippi, that has struggled with water issues for months now, they are still under a boil water advisory effect. So that is going to be an ongoing issue because in addition to people who have lost power, we have also seen, because the temperatures have dropped so dramatically across the country, pipes have frozen, and when pipes freeze, it's unable to get water out. And also there are instances where the pipes will actually burst as well, and people don't have access to clean drinking water. Dealing with people who may not have access to power, but they also don't have access to water. And so that is also the next culprit that we're focusing on as well.
Yikes. Well, we're hoping that, at least power be restored so that way people don't die of the cold. But Eric, in other news, we did see a busload of migrants being dropped off close to the Vice President Kamala Harris's official residence. Can you bring us up to speed here?
Yeah, this is something that we have been seeing for about a year now. Republican governors protesting the Biden administration's handling of immigration in the United States. And as a result, many of these Republican governors have been busing these migrants to Democratic cities across the country. And the majority of the cities that they've been sending them to are New York City, Washington, D.C., and Chicago, Illinois. And today we heard from the White House that has finally become a little bit frustrated with what they are seeing, particularly from Governor Abbott of Texas, because in this instance, this was seen as perhaps one of the most cruel stunts that we have seen, because these were migrants who were bused in sub-freezing temperatures in the middle of the night on Christmas Eve at the vice president's residence. Now, luckily, there were shelter organizations in place that were prepared to take the migrants when they arrived in Washington, D.C. But nevertheless, on Christmas Eve, it was still seen as a pretty horrific and cruel stunt by the governor. And so the president is actually lashing out at the governors who continue to bus these migrants unannounced to different places. And they're also making clear that they are equally frustrated with the roll over migration that is right now being batted back and forth in the courts here in the United States.